Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. What a lovely introduction. Can I first start by acknowledging our acting party president, who I'm sure you'll all say is doing a wonderful job, which is a really tough job here today. So thank you. Exactly. So to the acting president, to you, to your executive, to, of course, the new Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Adrian Schrinner, to you and your team, to our federal colleagues, to the past presidents, to you, the delegates and observers, and to my state team, it is wonderful to be here. It is also great to be able to acknowledge my husband Jason and two of my daughters here today. You may recall last year I had two daughters with me. I do have three, but there's always a competing interest between a country race day and the LNP convention, and that's exactly what's happened again this year. So it's wonderful to see you, Jace, Isabella and Elkie here today. Yeah, thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is wonderful to be standing before you once again, and a lot has happened since the last LNP convention. But most importantly, the LNP stopped Bill Shorten from moving into the lodge. Yeah. Poor Bill thought he was a shoo-in to be the next Prime Minister. The commentators thought he was a shoo-in as well. The pollsters said it was game over. But Prime Minister Scott Morrison and his team never gave up. The PM made history by fighting one of the best campaigns Australia has ever seen. And I want to pay tribute to all returning and new federal MPs. Well done. Because we in this room know the federal election was decided in this state. We know that on the 18th of May, 3 out of 4 Queenslanders voted against Labor. They totally rejected Labor's platform of higher taxes and political correctness. They rejected Bill Shorten because they can see what his best mate, Anastasia Palaszczuk, is doing to Queensland. Anastasia Palaszczuk has given us 5 years of failure, and Queensland has said that is enough. We've had 5 years of tax, debt and unemployment, 5 years of service delivery fails, and 5 years of rising crime. Unfortunately, the worst is yet to come. Treasurer Jackie Trad does not have a clue about running Queensland's finances. She is setting a new low for Labor treasurers, and that is actually saying something. Commentators have called Jackie Trad Australia's worst treasurer. In just 2 budgets, Jackie Trad has whacked Queensland with 9 new or increased taxes. Trad's taxes will take $3.5 billion out of Queenslanders' back pockets. Her taxes are weakening our economy and destroying jobs. But even this torrent of new taxes can't keep pace with Labor's spending. Labor's debt will hit almost $91 billion by 2022. And after that, well, who knows? Jackie Trad couldn't care less. She has no plan to control that debt, let alone pay it off. And ladies and gentlemen, do not believe the rubbish that Labor is borrowing to build. The Palaszczuk government is spending less on infrastructure than previous Queensland governments, including the previous LNP administration. Labor are spending less of our revenue on infrastructure than any other state in Australia. Labor's economic record is simply abysmal. It's the reason why we have an unemployment crisis in the regions. It's the reason why so many families are struggling to make ends meet. And it's the reason why we have a congestion crisis in the southeast. But Labor's inexperience doesn't come as a surprise to me when you look at who sits around the cabinet table. The top jobs in the Palaszczuk government are held by people who have spent their entire careers either working for a political party or in a trade union. They do not know what it is like to live in the real world, and they wouldn't have a clue how to run a business. Now, Queensland's worst skills shortage is actually not in our factories or our farms. It is sitting right around Anastasia Palaszczuk's cabinet table. But, thank you. But the Palaszczuk Labor government isn't just incompetent, it's completely detached from regional Queensland. Now, Labor has 18 cabinet ministers, but just 2 of them are from the regions. The remaining 16 cabinet ministers all represent seats in Greater Brisbane. Queensland regions have been snubbed by the Palaszczuk government like never before. Anastasia Palaszczuk's priorities are all wrong. She actually spends more time in North America than she does in North Queensland. And the contrast between the LNP and Labor could not be greater. We, in fact, are the polar opposite of the Palaszczuk government. We actually have life experience. Now, on my team, I have a doctor, I have a nurse, I have a dentist. We've got builders, farmers, lawyers, journalists, an engineer, even an NRL ref. We've got a publican, a public servant, a veteran, and a whole squad of police officers. We've run a stack of businesses between us before, and unlike Labor, we represent every corner of this great state. My team is made up of real people with real ideas and real solutions, and we cannot wait until the next election. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Gary Spence, there are only 477 days to go until polling day, and we will be ready. We will choose outstanding candidates for every single electorate in Queensland. And we will have the best candidates, and we will show Queenslanders that we are the only choice next year. So today, I can announce that immediately following convention, we will open nominations for the seats that we must win to take government next year. Those seats are Gavin, Townsville, Maywar, Mundingburra, Aspley, Redlands, Barron River, Whitsunday, Mansfield, Maryborough and Morani. We will have to beat Labor, the Greens, One Nation and an independent to take those seats. Our goal is the return of a majority LNP government in October next year. There will be no deals with other parties, no compromises, because only a majority LNP government will get Queensland working again. Now, ladies and gentlemen, today I can also announce that the LNP will open nominations for our incumbent seats within the next 2 weeks. But sadly, Jan Stuckey, the member for Currumbin, and Mark McArdle, the member for Caloundra, will not be putting themselves forward. Mark and Jan both entered Parliament in 2004 and both served as ministers in the former LNP government. And I want to sincerely thank them for their service to Queensland. Now, Jan ensured that the Gold Coast Commonwealth Games went ahead on time and on budget. And Mark McArdle, if you can stand up. Now, Mark's deregulation of the electricity, and face the audience so we can all look at you. Mark's deregulation of the electricity retail market in southeast Queensland has saved families hundreds of dollars a year, and those savings are still growing. Mark has been a tireless advocate for better health services in Queensland, including the Sunshine Coast University Hospital. And as the leader of the Queensland Liberal Party, Mark was also an architect of the LNP. Mark and Jan, Mark, you will be missed by me and my team, and I thank you for your guidance and your service to Queensland. You will be missed. But ladies and gentlemen, I promise the people of Caloundra and Currumbin and the whole of Queensland that the LNP will never stop working for you. We know you need a grown-up government, and that's what we will deliver. So unlike Labor, we have a plan to turn this state around. We will make Queensland an economic powerhouse once again, just like it used to be. We will begin by delivering more dams, bringing water security and vital jobs to our regions. We will build the Urana and Nalinga dams, build Rookwood Weir and raise the Burdekin Falls Dam. But this will only be stage one of our drought-proofing plan. We will develop a 30-year water strategy to help drought-proof this state once and for all. Now, I'll be making more water commitments and announcements in the lead up to next year because we know how important water is to deliver jobs to the regions. The feds have put the money on the table, and I'm willing to grab that with two hands. Now, the LNP also has a plan to slash electricity. We will extend Mark McArdle's electricity reforms to the rest of Queensland. Retail price competition will save a typical regional household $1,200 over the next term of government. How good will it be for regional Queensland to actually have a choice in the provision of that service, and we don't just have to stick with ergon? We will restructure our state-owned power generators from 2 to 3, driving down wholesale prices through increased competition. And our statewide infrastructure program will get this state moving and working again. We will fast-track upgrades to the M1 and build the second M1 to bust Labor's congestion crisis. There will be more money for the Bruce Highway, the Mackay Ring Road Stage 2, and local road upgrades across this state. And after a decade of dithering, we will deliver the Sunshine Coast. After a decade of Labor dithering, we will deliver the Sunshine Coast duplication of the rail line. We will invest in train lines, and we will make sure they are run efficiently too. The LNP will stand up to the union bosses and end Labor's rail fail once and for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we will boost the economy by giving Queenslanders a no new tax guarantee. Now, unlike Jackie Trad, Treasurer Tim Mander will not introduce a single extra tax. But the LNP will stabilise Labor's massive debt by ensuring the state government lives within its means. And let me repeat this for Labor once more. There will be no asset sales and no forced redundancies. However, we will crack down on Labor's obscene waste, like the $460 million Labor has squandered on IT blowouts, like changing the name of Ladies Salento Hospital. We will bring tax and spending under control, and we will unlock the economic potential of our regions. Now, Queensland is a resources state. Well, it's time we started acting like one. So we will support the development of the Northwest Minerals Province with cheaper electricity and more funding for exploration. And we will boost the Galilee Basin. Now, there are $50 billion worth of projects in the Galilee, 15,000 new jobs in the pipeline, but they will not come until the resources industry regains the confidence in mining in Queensland. And the LNP will give the industry the confidence they are screaming out for. Our 10-year royalty guarantee will encourage investment and create thousands of new mining jobs. And every cent of new royalties from the Galilee Basin will go towards an infrastructure fund that will exclusively pay for schools, hospitals and roads that Queensland needs. We will also fix Labor's biased project approvals process and ensure companies are given a fair go. When it comes to the resources industry, the choice we face couldn't be clearer. We can either export our resources or we can export our jobs. Well, I choose jobs for regional Queensland any day of the week. And unlike Labor, I won't cry when we approve projects that will deliver jobs for regional Queensland. And I give you this guarantee that if I am elected Premier, I will work my backside off each and every day to ensure jobs for all of Queensland. But ladies and gentlemen, I also want to strengthen our economy and help hard-working Queenslanders. I want to make our society stronger too. More police on the streets, better education for our kids, air conditioning every state school classroom across this state. And I will also stop the disgraceful decline of health services that we have suffered under Labor. Anastasia Palaszczuk has created a crisis in Queensland. Anastasia Palaszczuk has created a crisis in Queensland health just like Anna Bligh and Peter Beattie did before her. Our major hospitals have patients being crowded into corridors, and our kids are being given chemo in the kitchen. In regional Queensland, mums are giving birth on the side of the road because Labor have shut so many regional maternity services. Now, Labor will never fix these problems because Labor is the problem. Anastasia Palaszczuk's health minister, he's incompetent, he's unqualified, and he is out of his depth. Only the LNP will repair our broken health system, just like we've had to do before. We will provide Queensland Health with real leadership, and we will deliver better services to mums and bubs everywhere, including the bush. And we need to do this because Labor's neglect of Queensland can no longer go on. Now, Queensland cannot trust Labor. Queensland cannot afford Labor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the LNP will get Queensland working. We will build new infrastructure like dams. We will bust congestion. We will create jobs, and we will unite Queensland. From my first day as leader, I have worked to unite this state, to bring Queensland together. Because when Queensland is united, there is no stopping us. We need a government that backs all of Queensland, a government that works for every corner of this state. There is only one government that will do that, and that is a majority LNP government. And that is what my team and I are determined to deliver in 477 days from now. With your help, we know we can do that and kickstart this great state of ours again. Let's get Queensland working. Thank you.